Your confidence must come before your company. Because if you don't believe in you, then no crowd, no audience, no relationship, no friendship, none of that can carry you when life gets heavy. See, the problem is too many people are looking for someone to co-sign their greatness before they ever sign the check themselves. They're waiting on validation before they move, waiting on applause before they perform. But the truth is, you can't lead the life you're called to live if your worth is still on layaway, waiting for someone else to pick it up. Confidence is an inside job. It doesn't come from who you're around. It comes from who you decide to be day after day, no matter who's watching. When you build your identity on shaky ground, on other people's opinions, attention, or acceptance, you set yourself up to crumble the moment they shift. Because trust me, people's attention is fickle. One moment they love you, the next they forget your name. If your confidence is tied to their presence, you'll always be at the mercy of their mood. You have to know who you are before you walk in the room, because if not, the room will tell you who to be. It will shape you, mold you, and reduce you until you're a shadow of your true self, performing for people who wouldn't notice your silence. Confidence isn't arrogance, it's assurance. Assurance in your value, your voice, your vision. You don't walk in like you own the place. You walk in knowing you belong there, even if no one else thinks so. Too many people are building their lives around company, around who's with me instead of what's in me. And that's the trap. Because if you need people to start, you'll never finish when they leave. If you need people to tell you you're enough, what happens when they change their mind? You'll shrink, you'll hide, and you'll forget who you were before they clapped for you. That's why confidence has to be established first. Before the business, before the platform, before the relationship. When you carry real confidence, you stop chasing attention and start attracting alignment. You stop begging to be seen and start moving like someone who's already called. You stop adjusting yourself to fit in spaces that were never built for your level. Confidence tells you, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. I'd rather walk alone in purpose than sit in rooms full of noise and lose myself in the process. Confidence doesn't mean you don't need people. It means you don't need them to complete you. It means if they show up, that's a blessing. But if they don't, you're still standing, still moving, still building. It means your peace isn't held hostage by presence, and your identity doesn't break when someone walks out. That kind of confidence is rare, but it's powerful. The truth is, if you don't build confidence before a company, the company will build you, and not in a good way. They'll shape you with their insecurities, their expectations, their agendas. And you'll find yourself performing for praise, molding your identity to please people who don't even know themselves. That's how people lose years of their lives, living for the applause and dying in silence. Confidence first, not after success, not after approval, before. Because when it's rooted deep, the winds of criticism, comparison, or even abandonment can't knock it down. That's when you know you're not just surviving for others, you're living for yourself. And that's the only foundation strong enough to carry the life you're truly meant for. If they walk out, you walk taller. Because not everyone who exits your life deserves to take your strength with them. Some people were never meant to stay. Their purpose was temporary, their presence seasonal. But your growth, that's permanent. When someone walks out, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It might just mean something is right. Something in you grew beyond the place they were willing to go. And instead of seeing that as a loss, you've got to recognize it as a shift, a divine adjustment to clear the space for what's next. People often assume that when someone leaves, it's because they weren't enough. But sometimes it's because they were too much. Too much truth, too much vision, too much self-awareness, and rather than rise to that level, others retreat. They walk away not because of your weakness, but because of your strength. And if you shrink when they go, you dishonor the very strength they couldn't handle. You don't walk smaller when they exit, you walk taller, because now you're not bending anymore to fit a connection that was never built to hold you. It's easy to confuse presence with purpose. Just because someone was with you doesn't mean they were for you. Loyalty isn't measured by proximity, it's measured by alignment. And when the alignment breaks, the departure is just a symptom. So when they walk, let them. Because what's real won't leave you when things get uncomfortable. What's real will grow with you. What's real doesn't run from your elevation, it rises with it. And if they couldn't handle the next level of you, that's not rejection, that's protection. Walking taller means choosing dignity over desperation. It means understanding that love should never require you to lower your standards, quiet your voice, or compromise your values. If someone has to leave for you to fully be yourself, then their absence is a blessing. It frees you from the performance, it frees you from pretending, and it gives you the space to walk in your full identity, unfiltered, unapologetic, and untethered. Sometimes the reason you feel heavy isn't because you're carrying too much. It's because you're carrying people who were never yours to hold. You're dragging history, memories, potential, trying to keep something alive that has already expired. But when they walk out, the weight lifts. And in that moment, you realize you've been hunched over in emotional debt, giving more than you ever received. Walking taller is the reset. It's the release. It's the reminder that you're allowed to rise again without guilt, without grief. You don't need to chase what walked away. If someone can leave, they were already halfway gone in their heart. And trying to convince them to stay only keeps you stuck. Instead, walk forward, head high, shoulders back, because your value was never attached to who stayed. It was embedded in your being long before they arrived. You are whole with or without them. And their exit doesn't devalue your worth, it reveals it. Growth will always cost you something. Sometimes it costs you relationships, sometimes it costs you comfort. But every step away from what no longer serves you is a step closer to purpose. You can mourn the memories, but don't resurrect dead situations out of nostalgia. If they walked out, there's a reason, and that reason is rarely about your inadequacy. It's often about your evolution. People who fear growth fear those who grow. And so when they leave, let them. Don't plead, don't chase, don't shrink, walk taller, not to prove anything to them, but to remind yourself of what you carry. Because when you stand in your full height, you start to see clearly. You see who's real. You see what matters. And you see that losing people never means losing purpose. It just means you're getting closer to the version of you who no longer settles. Self-love is not selfish. It's stewardship. Because when you take care of yourself, you're not just indulging in comfort, you're managing a responsibility. You are the first assignment you've been given in this life. Your mind, your heart, your spirit, your time, those aren't accidents. They're resources. And how you manage those resources determines what kind of life you build. So no, self-love isn't a luxury. It's not optional. It's the foundation. It's the awareness that you've been entrusted with something sacred, you. Too many people are burning themselves out trying to be everything for everyone, yet they don't even know how to be anything for themselves. They give energy they don't have. They show up for others in ways they won't show up for their own dreams. and they call it love, but love that drains you is not love. It's dysfunction dressed in sacrifice. Stewardship says, I can love you, but I will not abandon me to do it. It draws boundaries, not from bitterness, but from wisdom. Because anything you constantly pour out without refilling will eventually run dry. When you understand stewardship, you stop waiting for permission to rest. You stop apologizing for taking time to reflect, to grow, to heal. You realize that you are the vessel carrying everything you want to manifest. Your peace matters. Your energy matters. Your joy matters. And if you neglect yourself while trying to maintain everything around you, you eventually sabotage the very future you're trying to build. You can't give from an empty soul, and you can't fake wholeness forever. Self-love isn't just about bubble baths and solo vacations. It's about discipline. It's about saying no when you want to say yes, because your future deserves better decisions. It's waking up early to develop your gifts, eating right when it's easier not to, staying away from environments that poison your progress. It's about protecting your time like it's currency, because it is. Real self-love isn't always soft. It's often uncomfortable. It challenges the version of you that settles and stretches, the version that leads. It takes strength to love yourself when the world profits off your insecurity, when ads are designed to make you doubt your appearance, when people are quick to label confidence as arrogance, when culture tells you to be everything for everyone but still questions your worth. But self-love cuts through the noise. It says, I don't need your validation to be valuable. I already am. That kind of love doesn't inflate the ego. It anchors the soul. It reminds you that you're already enough even while you're still evolving. You are a steward of your gifts, a steward of your purpose. And if you neglect yourself, you delay your assignment. Every time you doubt your worth, every time you put everyone before you, every time you ignore your own voice, you send a message that your calling isn't worth protecting. But it is. You are. The dream inside you is too valuable to be managed with neglect. And the world doesn't need a version of you that's constantly worn down. It needs a version of you that's well cared for and fully alive. People will always have opinions about how you choose to love yourself. They'll question your boundaries. They'll criticize your confidence. But remember, stewardship isn't about pleasing others. It's about honoring what's been placed in your hands. And you are not here to abandon yourself to keep people comfortable. You are here to lead yourself first so that everything you touch flows from overflow, not exhaustion. That's what real love looks like. Responsible, rooted, resilient. So the next time you feel guilty for choosing yourself, remind yourself of the truth. Loving you is not rebellion. It's not pride. It's not ego. It's alignment. It's stewardship. Because when you manage yourself well, you show up better for everything else in your life. Your purpose, your people, your vision, your future. And when you finally grasp that, you stop treating self-love like an afterthought and start living like it's the strategy it was always meant to be. Your life's value is not tied to another human being. It's tied to your God-given identity. That means your worth was already established before anyone ever had an opinion about you. It was settled before they accepted you, rejected you, applauded you, or walked away from you. You were born with value. You didn't earn it, and no one can erase it. The moment you start tying your identity to people, you begin building your self-permit on shifting sand. And when they change their tone, you start changing your truth. That's how people get lost chasing mirrors that distort instead of reflecting who they really are. There's a deep danger in depending on people to define you, because people are inconsistent. They love you today, They're silent tomorrow. They support you when it's convenient, then disappear when it costs them something. If your confidence rises and falls with their response, you're not living, you're surviving on borrowed approval. You'll spend your days adjusting who you are to make others comfortable until you forget the sound of your own voice. But when you know who you are in God, you stop auditioning. You stop performing. You stop shrinking to fit into rooms that were never built for your fullness. You weren't created to be defined by anyone but the one who designed you. That means you can't let broken people dictate your blueprint. If they couldn't recognize your value, that's not your failure. That's their limitation. You don't need a crowd to confirm a calling. You don't need a relationship to feel relevant. You don't need constant validation to walk in purpose. You are already enough because your Creator said so. And when you live from that place, you start carrying yourself with a different kind of strength, a strength that isn't shaken by absence or applause. So many people are stuck because they've made someone else the center of their worth. They think if they leave, I lose everything. No, you don't. Because what God placed in you, no person can take. They can doubt you, they can walk away, they can misunderstand you, but they can't cancel the anointing. They can't block the blessing. They can't undo what's already been spoken over your life. Your value isn't seasonal, it's eternal. It doesn't expire when someone exits. It doesn't lessen when someone disapproves. It stands firm because it was never theirs to give or take in the first place. There's freedom in remembering that people are part of the journey, not the source of your identity. They may walk with you, support you, challenge you, but they are not your foundation. When you build on God's truth, you stop living like someone who can be broken by opinions. You stop letting rejection write your narrative. You start walking with clarity because you know whose you are. And once you know that, you don't chase people, you chase purpose. You don't beg for love, you embody it. You don't fear being alone because you're already anchored. That kind of self-worth disrupts everything that was built on insecurity. It tears down the need to constantly prove yourself. It silences the inner voice that says you're not enough, and it replaces it with the deeper truth. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be light. You are here to shine, to stand, to move with boldness, not because people said you could, but because God said you should. And once you believe that, you stop giving other people power over your identity. You begin to recognize the difference between connection and control. You begin to see who adds to your life versus who drains your spirit. And you stop compromising your value just to keep the peace. That's what happens when your identity is rooted in something unshakable. You stop entertaining confusion. You stop justifying mistreatment. You stop lowering your standard because you finally understand you are not for everyone and you were never meant to be. You were set apart, and people's inability to see that doesn't make it less true. So while relationships are beautiful, while connection is meaningful, you never again allow your sense of self to hang on whether someone stays or goes. You were already whole before they arrived, and you will still be whole if they leave. Your identity is divine. Your worth is woven into something far greater than human opinion. And when you walk in that truth, you begin to live with a kind of confidence that no one can give you and no one can take away. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Be the hero of your own story, because the moment you place your future in someone else's hands, you give away your power. Too many people are living in pause, waiting for a call, a relationship, a rescue. They're hoping someone will come along and finally see them, finally choose them, finally pull them out of what they could have climbed out of themselves. But life doesn't reward the passive. Life rewards the bold, the ones who decide that enough is enough, the ones who stop rehearsing excuses and start writing new chapters with grit and conviction. No one is coming to fix it for you. That's not discouragement, it's empowerment. Because once you accept that truth, you stop waiting and start building. You start becoming, you start leading yourself with courage instead of depending on others to lead you out of your own mess. Heroes don't rise by accident, they rise by choice. And the greatest heroes are the ones who decided to stand when it was easier to stay stuck. Who kept going even when no one clapped, no one showed up, no one understood the fight? You have everything you need to begin. But as long as you're waiting for external confirmation, you'll stay in internal confusion. You don't need someone else to open the door. You need to stop sitting on your hands. You don't need someone to hand you permission. You need to take responsibility. Waiting feels safe. It feels familiar. But waiting too long becomes a prison of your own making, one where dreams die slowly and silently, hidden under the comfort of someday. There is no perfect time. There is no magical opportunity where all the stars align and every fear disappears. Real life doesn't come with a soundtrack and a savior. It comes with decisions. Every day you wake up with the chance to rewrite what happens next. You are the author. You are the pen. And yes, maybe someone hurt you. Maybe someone left. Maybe life knocked you down. But healing doesn't come when you're rescued. It comes when you rise, bruised, broken, tired, and still choose to move forward. Being the hero of your story doesn't mean having all the answers. It means refusing to stay silent in your suffering. It means choosing growth over comfort. It means owning your narrative even when it's complicated. No one else can walk your path. They might cheer for you, they might guide you, but no one can be you. No one can dig deep in the middle of the night and remind yourself why you won't quit. That's between you, your vision, and your willingness to fight for it. It's easy to believe the lie that someone else has the keys to your breakthrough. That once the right person sees you, once the right door opens, once the right moment hits, then you'll step into the life you've been waiting for. But that's backwards. The door opens after you walk toward it. The opportunity appears when you start moving like it's already yours. Heroes act before the applause. They invest before the return. They show up before anyone sees the value. You are not helpless. You are not hopeless. You are not waiting for a savior. You are rising into one. And once you realize that, you stop looking to others to complete what only you can begin. You stop needing rescue, and you start becoming the one who changes the game, not just for you, but for everyone watching. Your breakthrough isn't on hold because of people. It's on hold because of permission you haven't given yourself yet. You're not waiting on them. You're waiting on you. So rewrite the role you've been playing. Step out of the background of your own life. Stop letting fear narrate your story. You are stronger than you feel, wiser than you know, and more equipped than you realize. Every hero has a moment where they choose to rise, not because it was easy, but because the alternative was staying stuck. And deep down, you already know it's time to stop waiting. It's time to lead. Live for yourself. Learn to live without anyone. That doesn't mean you walk through life bitter or closed off. It means you finally understand that your existence doesn't depend on anyone else's presence, permission, or participation. It means you stop giving people the keys to your peace. It means you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror without needing someone else's reflection to feel whole. Because the truth is, the moment you believe you need someone to breathe, you start suffocating every time they step away. That's not love. That's dependency dressed as devotion. When you live for yourself, you start making decisions that honor your soul, not just your surroundings. You stop bending into boxes to make people comfortable. You stop holding back your voice just to be accepted. You stop waiting for someone to choose you before you decide to choose yourself. This is where the shift happens, when your joy becomes your job, when your validation becomes internal, when your love is rooted in truth, not in approval. You weren't born to be everyone's answer. You were born to answer the call in you. Learning to live without anyone isn't a declaration of isolation, it's a declaration of independence. It's the ability to sit in your own silence and still feel full. It's walking through transitions without losing your direction. It's learning how to rebuild from heartbreak, rediscover after abandonment, and renew after disappointment. Because the most dangerous lie you can believe is that you can't live without someone else. The moment you buy into that, you give them control over your capacity to be whole. You have to learn how to be your own peace, your own strength, your own home. Because people will come and go. Some will stay for a season, some for a lesson, and some just long enough to show you what you no longer need. If you don't learn how to live without them, you'll start crumbling every time someone walks away. You'll begin to define yourself by who stays, forgetting that who you are never left. That kind of inner grounding is what builds real freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from desperation, freedom from the need to be constantly filled by someone else's presence. Living for yourself doesn't mean you never love deeply. It means you never lose you in the process. You can give love without giving yourself away. You can care without collapsing. You can support others while still standing strong, but it only works when you're rooted in who you are, not in who you're trying to hold on to. Because when love becomes your identity, heartbreak becomes your identity crisis. And you were never meant to be defined by who walked in or out of your life. You've got to build a life so full of purpose, passion, and self-respect that losing someone doesn't feel like losing your foundation. That's not selfish, that's security. It's knowing your value doesn't decrease because someone else couldn't see it. It's trusting that your journey is still blessed even when you walk it alone. And it's refusing to hand over your joy to people who were never meant to protect it in the first place. So many people shrink when they're left. They think loneliness is punishment, when in reality it's preparation. Preparation to become someone who doesn't beg to be kept. Someone who doesn't fear being alone. Someone who walks so boldly in their identity that they stop trying to convince others to stay and instead trust that the right ones will stand. This kind of strength doesn't come from clinging. It comes from letting go, from rising, from remembering who you are when the room gets quiet. Because at the end of the day, it's not about building a life without love. It's about building a life where love is an addition, not your only oxygen, where people complement your peace, but never complete it. When you live for yourself and learn to live without anyone, you become unshakable, not because you don't care, but because you finally care enough about you to stop crumbling every time someone leaves.